Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Eileen and I'm a Reborn artist, and if you were watching earlier, you know I'm starting a brand new kit and I'm going to try to film it and do a tutorial from beginning to end, so it'll be in a couple different parts. So this is Tia and the sculptor is Bonnie Sieben, and I got this kit from McPherson Crafts. I keep saying McPherson Arts and Crafts because it seems like that's what it should be, but it's not. It's just McPhersonCrafts.com. So I already washed the kit, and what I do is I wash it with soap and warm water. I don't submerge it all the way into the water because I don't want water getting into the cavity of the limbs or the head or anything. So I basically just hold it in some water and wash it with soap and water real good, making sure you get in all the little like folds and everything. And then once it dries, I think it's a 70%. Yes, 70% alcohol, and put it on a rag, and then I just take and clean it real good. Make sure you get in all the folds and make sure you get up close to the top of the leg and the knee, behind the knee. Just make sure you're getting all the little areas, the foot. Make sure you're getting the toes, because you really, really, really want to make sure that all the areas are clean so that the paint sticks to it. Even though we're going to put a primer on it, you want to make sure the primer sticks, and you want to make sure that the doll is just really, really clean. And then you want to sit it down to dry. And like I said, I did the rest of it. I was just showing you that one. But what I do is I like to open the nostrils. So the way I open the nostrils is I take a drill and I turn it on and I stick it into the nostril like this. I can't really hold it very well like that. Let me move this. And then I just go up and down. I actually need to put my dollar store reading glasses on just to make sure that everything looks good. And then I'm going to do the other side. And oh, I think I need to get a larger size drill. Now that I have that opened, we're going to change and switch out the drill bit from a smaller drill bit to a larger drill bit. And I just want to make sure that it's not going to be too big. And then we'll do this side. And as you can see, I don't know how well you can see, because like I said before, my camera's not the greatest. And it looks like it might need to be filed down. So I have a little file. It's a circular file, and I just go up and down a few times until it's smooth and even. And it looks like we're doing pretty good. And after I do that, what I'm going to do is take a Q-tip. See, I'm new to YouTubing and I don't have everything ready like I should. I take a Q-tip and I dip it in acetone. I think it's backwards because I have it in the selfie mode so I can see what I'm doing. But I dip it into the acetone. And then I just take and I try to just kind of smooth it out a little. Okay. And then once it looks like I have all of the rough areas smoothed out, I say I'm done. And that looks really good. You probably can't see it very well, but so then what I'm going to do, I usually open the nostrils before I clean it, and then I clean it. So I'm just going to go over her head again with the alcohol. Just because I want to make sure that the oil from my hands, and if there's anything on the table, that it didn't get on the dial and stay on the dial. So, alrighty. And then I'm going to set her over here to dry. I have her on a rack. I'm not going to pick my rack up, but I have two racks. And I have one on this side, and I have one on this side. So then what I'm going to do is put these over here. And I'm going to take my matte primer, and I'm going to take a little putty knife and just take some of that out and put it in here. I actually have some in here from the last doll I did. that the thinner has all evaporated. And then I'm going to take my Mona Lisa thinner and I'm going to put it in this little cup here. I don't want to put a whole lot because it does evaporate if you don't use it. And I'm going to take a dropper and I'm just going to put it in here. And I'm going to mix it. You want it to be a really nice watery consistency. So I don't know if you heard a little earlier, my husband was yelling up to me and then he realized that I must be doing a video because then he said, "Oops, I'm sorry." I don't know if you heard him or not. I don't usually wear my ring once I've gained weight. I'll be 60 in June, and I've gained a lot of weight since COVID and all the shutdowns, and I just my rings start to get really tight as the evening goes on, so I don't typically wear them once I'm home and everything. Okay, so let me put my rag back down here. Actually, that needs to be thrown down to be washed. So I'm going to take her arm, and this is a mop brush, and I'm just going to take and mop it over. Make sure you got all the areas covered. And you can use a regular foam sponge if you want, but I like these. I don't know. I just like to use these. And then just tap it. And make sure you go in all the little crevices and then you put it on the rack to dry and move on to the next. And then the same thing. You want to tap it. I'm sorry if I keep going out of the the picture frame here. And you do that to both arms and both legs and the head. I'll do the head, and I'm not going to show you the legs because it's kind of just the same thing that you're doing to the arms and the head. You want to make sure you get in those ears and behind the ears. This doll's ears aren't real close. A lot of times there's a definite little crease behind the ears. This doll doesn't have that. And you just want to make sure that if that crease is there, you're getting in that crease. You're getting in both ears really good. Under the chin, in the mouth, if they have their mouth opened. Getting up that nose, the eyes, and then you're doing the whole head. And we're going to take this and we're going to make sure we get all the little crevices and just pat it in there to get the excess off and just to smooth everything out. And I'm going to put this on the rack to dry and do the legs. I'm not going to show you that. So when I come back, I'll show you how to cook the baby. That sounds a little weird, but they do get baked in between each coat, each layer. So that's her cute little face. And I'll catch you in a little bit. See ya. Hi, everybody. Well, little Tia is all dry and we are ready to bake her. So this is the base of my oven. It's a New Wave oven. And what I do is I line it with a pillowcase. This part is metal and you do not want the vinyl to touch the metal while it's baking or it will burn. So you can use a pillowcase, a towel, whatever piece of cloth that you have around. So I like to use a pillowcase. And then I'm going to take the dried parts and a clean mop brush, and I'm just going to look over the doll, and if there's any dust or hair, or sometimes when you're painting, doing the base primer and everything, sometimes I notice a bristle come out of the brush and it'll get on the doll. So you just want to make sure that you're brushing anything off that you don't want baked into the doll. So now I'm going to grab her leg. She's still a little wet in some places, but yeah, she looks good. And when you place the doll in the oven, you want to make sure that the vinyl parts are not touching each other, because they don't really melt, but they get really hot and they kind of stick together and can deform the vinyl a little bit. Now, if this part touches, that's fine. That's not an issue. It's not going to like glue together, so that's fine. But you don't want other parts of the vinyl touching each other. So I'm just dusting this one off. And this one actually looks pretty good. And I go like that. And then I'm going to move this doll over to this side of the table. And I'm going to take my phone down. And now I have the oven situated on this side of the table, because this is where the heating element part of the oven is plugged in, and it didn't reach over here, so I have to bring it over here to show you. So I'm going to put the top part on. So what it's going to wind up looking like is that. And I'm on the New Wave oven. Always put a thermometer in so you can check and make sure it's not getting too hot, and making sure that it's hot enough so that the paint sets. So what you want to do is you want to come up here and you want to go to cook time, 11 minutes, and power level 6, and start. And now she's going to cook, and we'll be back in a little bit. Good morning, everybody. So it's Saturday morning, and little Miss Tia is all baked and all cooled off. You always want to make sure after you bake the doll that you let it cool off completely before you start painting again. So we're going to start with her arm. And oops, let me get my glasses on. And what I'm going to do right now is neutralize the vinyl. I already have a blue wash mixed up. I kind of keep this ready. So what I would do is just take some blue, a little bit of blue, and mix it with the paint thinner, the Mona Lisa paint thinner. If you're just starting out and you're not quite sure which color to use to neutralize it, and we call this a color wash, you can get one of these little wheels here. And what I did is kind of see what color the vinyl looks like. You can slide the wheel around and decide, let's see, what color does this look like? And to me, it kind of looks like it's in between these two colors. So what you would do is you would go directly down here, and I'm going to say it looks more like, well, it's in between these two colors. So you want to go straight down, and you want your color wash to look like this. So I had bought this. I really don't use it that much because pretty much all of the vinyl kits are the same color. But this was a good start for me, and I'm glad I got that. So that's a color wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush, and I'm going to, I don't want it sopping wet, so I'm going to rub the excess off. And when I first started painting, I was making it I had it too dark, and it was probably not thinned enough. And you want to make sure you get in all the little crevices. And the vinyl was actually like staining blue, and it was the vinyl turned out pretty much like a bluish gray, and I just really I painted it anyway, and I just was not happy with it at all. So my very first Reborn, there were a lot of mistakes. So, and if it doesn't neutralize, and by neutralize I mean we want it to get as white as it can get, and kind of like having a nice clean canvas. So I take, this is a wedge foam, and I'm just tapping the excess off and making sure that there aren't any drips. And make sure you get in all the little cracks and crevices. because you don't want it to be real blue in any spots. Because now, even though I don't know if I said it in this video, it might have been a different video. Even because it's heat set paint, so it needs to bake in order for the paint to set. But the blue, it does start to stain a little bit before you bake it, and you can, if you make a mistake, you can take a paint thinner and go over the site and clean it real good. But sometimes the blue just really stains and you can't get it completely off, or at least I couldn't the first doll I did. So that was a lesson number one for me when I first started reborning. So it's probably going to need a second coat, but we'll see. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it over here on my drying rack, right here. And we're going to wait till it dries, and then when everything's all dried, we'll put her in the oven. And so we're going to do her little face. And you can wear gloves when you do this, or just make sure you're not touching the vinyl with your hands, because the oil from your hands will, get on the vinyl, and you don't want that. So I just usually make sure I have my fingers in here and I'm holding the vinyl by the ridge here. So we're going to go over, get up in the nostrils, in the ears, and behind the ears. Yeah. So, and again, make sure there's no drips and runs where it's may stain the doll, and you don't want that to happen. I think I need to get a new brush. It seems like some of the bristles are sticking, but we'll get that off. And just want to go over, make sure you're patting it very well. Yeah, it's raining out today. It's kind of a lazy day around here. My husband, he got up a little while ago and he went back to bed. I slept in also. It's just a rainy, nasty day today. The dogs didn't even want to go out. I have two dogs. One is a husky. Her name is Kira, and one is she's a plot hound. She looks more like a lab. So I think she's a mix. So, and her name is Mia. And this is Tia. Alrighty. Alrighty. Gonna get in her ears and make sure, because sometimes the paint pulls in the ears and then you wind up with this really blue ear. So, alrighty, and we're gonna take and put her over here on the drying rack. Okay, everybody, we're back, and little Tia is all dry now. So I just want to make sure. I'm going to move this out of the way. Just want to make sure that she doesn't have any hairs, brush bristles, or anything on her, and that she doesn't have any drips or anything. Okay, so alrighty. So we're gonna go put her in the oven. And again, this is how we put her in the oven. Oops. And her leg, actually, her leg is not dried all the way, so this must have been the one I had a little too much on. Dab this little thing off here. Okay. And then I'm going to put this back over here. You know how I pack them in there. I don't want to brush the little hairs off onto my vinyl that I've already brushed off. So okay. Alrighty. And then we'll get this leg. And just examine it real careful, especially the heels. For some reason, when I do the blue wash, even the way I put them on the rack, they're on the rack like this. The paint sometimes drips down and pulls up on the heel, and then you wind up with a little blue circle on the heel. So you don't want that. So you just want to make sure that that is all patted and dried. And that looks pretty good. And we'll look at this arm here. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but oh, there's a little blue mark here. And I thought I saw another one in here and up here. So you just want to make sure that that is all patted out. It's really important to check your vinyl before you put it in the cooker, because once it sets, it's hard to get off. I mean, you can with paint thinner and a lot of scrubbing, but the blue sometimes is a little relentless and doesn't come all the way out. Okay. I don't see any hair or anything on this one, so this one looks pretty good, but I still dust it off. And actually, the way I patted this, you probably can't see it because I keep saying I need to get a new camera. I love photography and I have a camera and I do take photographs and I have won some awards, but the video part of it, I really have never ever used. I just do my photography, and my computer that I have now, I'm very upset with it because it no longer recognizes my camera when it's hooked up to it. So I have to get a new laptop so I can get my photos off of it. But right here, it looks like the way I patted it. Now, I could even that out right now, but it looks kind of a little bit like a vein. You probably can't see it. So I'm going to leave that there. One less bit of veining I have to do. So, I don't see any blue. This one looks pretty good. So we're going to just brush it off here. Alrighty. And we're going to put it in the oven. Okay, now Tia's all tucked away in the oven here. And the vinyl's not touching anywhere. And I'm going to come back up to the little control here, and I'm going to do cook time 11 minutes, power level 6, and start. And then, I'll just check and make sure. I really need to clean the inside of this. I just make sure that it's getting as hot as it has to, and that's about 295 degrees Fahrenheit. And that it's not getting too high because that's not good for the vinyl. So we'll be back when she's done. See y'all in a little bit. Okay, everybody. Tia is all baked and all cooled off. So she's on her drying rack. And what I like to do first, I guess it doesn't really matter which order you do it in, but try and do the veining first, because you want the veining to look like it's underneath the skin. So you want to do the veining and then build on all the skin layers. So you want to make sure, when I first started doing reborning, I watched videos and, the book that I have, and it said, let the doll cool off before applying paint, but they never tell you why. And the why is actually really obvious. And I knew it, but I think I was just so excited to do this doll, that I didn't wait till it was completely cooled off. And they're heat set paint, so what happens if you put the paints on a hot doll? It sets. And especially the blue, it's kind of tough to get off. So what I'm going to do is I have a brush that's designated for blue paint, so the tip is blue. And I'm going to take a little bit of my vein blue, and this isn't a brush that I sometimes I paint with it if I don't need fine detail, but more times than not I don't really paint with it. It's just sort of to mix the paints. You don't need a whole lot of paint, and I may have actually used a little more than I need to. So I'm going to put some thinner in here, and I'm going to take a couple drops and put it in here, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to mix it up. I don't make it real dark. When I first started doing the paints, the Reborns, I was making it real dark, and the veining was turning out just really dark, and it was really hard to cover up, and so I don't make it real dark, and you want to make sure you really mix it up good. I might actually need a smidge bit more though. Oops. And it comes with practice. You'll get the hang of it. So, now I have a very thin brush right here. And if you saw the earlier parts of my video, you saw paints in here. Typically, I don't always clean out the palette. I reuse the paints, maybe for several dolls, because the thinner will evaporate, but the paint stays there. So I just add more thinner and it thins the paint out and you can reuse it. But I thought since I'm showing you a tutorial, I would just go ahead and start from scratch here. So your veining, you can make your baby as veiny as you want. When I first started, I did a lot of veining, but I'm not a perfectionist at veining, so I have limited the veinings to, you know, right here, and just kind of make it a little, you know, squiggly. Put a couple up here. And then I kind of always, let me get a different sponge. I kind of always just kind of blend out the ending so it doesn't look like you have a vein and then it just stops. So you probably can't really see this, and I apologize. Like I said, my camera is not the greatest. And I don't do real dark veining, so. And sometimes now, I used to make them too dark, but I can always go over them if I decide that I really can't see it that well and I want it a little darker. But if you make it too dark, it's really hard to fix it. So, but as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I need to make it darker. And I put some on the back of the elbow. And you can take your sponge and blend it and run it down. Yeah, I think I need to make it darker. I'm going to put her back over here for a second. Okay. Alrighty. Let's bring her back. And there we go. Oh, that's better. Alright, and blend your ends. And I can see a little bit here. And the book that I showed you in another video, they'll show you like where to put the veining at if you're not familiar where veins are most prevalent. So. Alrighty. And I always put like a little bit of veining on one of the fingers here. Just a little bit right there. I don't know if you can see. You probably can't. I really need to get a better camera.
And I'll probably keep saying that for the next 10 videos. I'm a procrastinator sometimes. Okay. So we're going to put some veining here. We're going to smooth out the veining. And we're going to put some here. And maybe a little bit over this little bony area here. And then I usually put some coming down the side of the knee here. And sometimes just the middle of the kneecap. And then on the foot, just a little bit on the top. I don't do a whole lot, but it doesn't look like it's picked up much. There we go. I was going to say it didn't look like it picked up much of the paint. And if it's, like I said, if it's too light and you really can't see it and you want it darker, you can always darken it later when you're painting. So, and sometimes I even add a little more veining when I'm painting around the ankles and things, but in the very beginning I don't do that. So this one kind of turned out a little light, so I'm just going to go over that one a little bit. Blending is very important because you don't want a color like veining or blushing or anything to, you know, just have a really apparent start and stop. So, and make sure, yeah, on the back of the knee, back of the leg, it looks pretty good. Alrighty. Like I said, I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm going to put this over here to dry. And then on the face, I usually put some coming down, like with the temple area, over to the eye. And again, even though I'm probably going to root hair over this area, I want it to not look like it just all of a sudden stops. And then this area here. That was a little too thick. So remember, it's not setting yet. If you mess up, just take some thinner and wipe it off and start again. And a lot of times you see a baby with a vein, you know, going across their forehead and coming down. So the head, a lot of times, if you're doing a bald baby, you know, you can extend the veining throughout the head. But I root all my babies, and to be quite honest, the reason why I root them is because I'm really bad at painting hair. I need to practice more, but I actually enjoy veining. I know that sounds, rooting. I know that sounds weird because most people hate rooting, but I find it very, I don't know, therapeutic. A lot of times there's like a little veining across the bridge of the nose. You don't want it to be too dark. Okay. I'm just going to have a little one come down the side of the face. Just real subtle. You know. Okay. Like I said, I I don't know if you can see it or not. And since you saw me do one arm and leg, I'm not going to show you and bore you with me doing the other one. If you want to see it, you know, you can rewind it, but that's the veining. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and finish her other arm and leg and let her dry and then bake her. I'm probably going to make this my part 1. So I'm finished with part 1 right now, and in part 2 I will show you the modeling and the skin tone colors. And then again, I may add more veining, who knows. So hope to see you on parts 2 and 3. Take care. Bye.